Well, this is the live episode. Already off to a quality start there. Definitely not the cue for that jingle, but here we are. Just gonna keep going, pushing ahead. God. You with me?
Yep, I'm back on. Back. Hi. Hello.
Hello.
There we go. So yeah, we're
Good.
live.
I'm exhausted. Have you seen One Punch Man?
A bit of the first season.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched it properly, but my brother was telling me about it, and somehow I was convinced to try and replicate his workout routine.
Oh dear. Oh.
And I decided to do that last night, like, even though I wanted to get up early for this. Yeah, I've made mistakes. It's like it's like 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 100 squats or something.
Yep.
Yeah. Oof.
Can you kill any of your enemies in one punch now?
No, and I also can't walk, so that's
yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Thanks. So yeah. Apart from almost dying, what else has been happening?
Quite a few things. This is interesting to have the chat. This is a really different kind of experience.
Yeah. Like the presence of someone listening to you live. It's weird.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of part of like why we started this podcast, was to like try out different things. So
yeah,
I think the idea of a live episode. Yeah, you're judging our unedited speech.
Yep.
And unedited bottle slams.
If you go on a tour of all the water bottle noises you're gonna hear from me.
Yeah.
See,
also all the mouth clicks.
Yeah, so you're probably gonna hear a lot of this. That's my metal flask. Or from my plastic water bottle.
This wasn't really the intention for this episode, but it kind of makes me feel better because there's so many times where I'm editing and I just want to strangle you. And now everyone gets a little taste.
And if we get desperate, there's this noise of yum yum fizz, specifically ginger beer. So
ginger beer still sounds weird to me. Like I know it's like
yeah,
like ginger ale.
Yeah, but
yeah,
like yeah.
But beer makes me think it's like an actual alcoholic drink.
Fair enough.
Anyway, before we get like too far off, let's run down some of this correction section here.
Correction section, or
yeah. I was listening back to the previous episode the other day, as is good to do when you want to record another episode. and I see. I noticed that when you were talking about Doctor Who,
Yeah.
and you said you wanted to watch series 11, I I think I got the numbers mixed up, and I thought series 10 was the most recent one, and that
Ah,
series 11 was the one that's coming out.
I
And
see.
you were like, I think you just didn't correct me on it, but you knew I was wrong. So just putting that out there. I realize now you're talking about just watching all of the Jodie Whittaker and not starting with like the new season that's not out yet.
Yeah. Uh, yeah.
Um, also, I I love the difference in reaction between when I was talking about those animal like mauling dreams,
Yeah.
because the first one, the first episode which that got mentioned in, I I woke up and was like terrified and was like, oh, I have a bunch of adrenaline right now.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned in the previous episode, I had another one, and I woke up thinking like, oh, I should mention that on the podcast. Like such a completely different reaction to essentially the same dream. But I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, yeah, I should mention that to Wobbles.
It's like the joke whenever a YouTuber sees something happen, they're like, "Oh, I can make a really clickbaity video out of this."
Yeah, oh, I should be vlogging this right now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So another thing that we mentioned previously, but kind of swept under the rug.
Mm.
I think it got left in the edit though.
Yeah, I think it did. Uh,
Um, there was a fire
yes.
semi recently.
Yeah. It happened in April, 2 months ago. Yeah, 2 months ago, there was, big the big F word happened, FIRE.
Mhm.
Um, essentially, so the way my house is kinda laid out, you have the house, then there's, like, my garden, but then there's, like, this at the back of the garden, there's, like, this car garage where we store all our cars and stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, and one night at 2 AM, we woke up or, like actually, it was, like, 1:30 in the morning. We were woken up by someone banging on our door, and it was our neighbors trying to wake us up. Because we look out the back and we realized, like, at first we just see the whole of our because it's like a big conjoint, like, 4 of the houses in my, like, housing area share it. And we see in, like, yeah, the guy's part who's knocking on our door, it's just all ablaze. And it's like, "Oh, well, we probably should, like, get out the house." So we stayed there. Like, luckily, I don't live too far from a fire station, so they managed to get there in about 9 minutes. Um,
Hmm.
and we kinda just sat across the road from my house, just seeing the smoke coming up from the back, for about, I think 2 hours. Uh, till we finally went back in and like, just relaxed at 4 in the morning, like, yikes. Um, so yeah, luckily no one was hurt really. There were, investigations for, like, a week before. Don't remember what the verdict was on the police investigation, but yeah, everyone was fine, and, it's all cleared up now. We just need to try just need to rebuild a new carport. So,
Hmm. Yeah. I remember you saying it was like it could potentially be arson or something, but
yeah, or, like, someone, like, flicked a cigarette butt and it went into, like, a gas canister, like, just, like,
yeah.
series of unfortunate events. But, yeah, it's been, what,
Well,
a few
I
weeks, but
mean, actually, series of unfortunate events. Book one, the children's house burns down and their parents die. So,
and what's the book
not
one?
actually series of unfortunate events, but
I mean, doesn't a hospital burn down on one of them?
probably there's a lot of
Yeah.
fire. There's a lot of
Yeah,
fire in those
there's a lot
books.
of fire. And then there's like the
Um,
other family that they're it's weird. But yeah. Not the actual Lemony Snicket books. So yeah.
um, yeah.
There we go.
Weirdly, between this happened a while ago, but I know you didn't want to talk about it until they had concluded their investigations.
Yeah.
But we're in between the time when we weren't talking about it. I actually had a run in with the big F word as well.
Oh boy.
Um, in that my brother was grilling something in the backyard, and the coal was being really stubborn, and he was like half asleep, and he was just like, this isn't lighting. Let me just add some fuel. But
Oh
the
dear.
thing is, he poured the fuel from the can itself,
Oh dear.
which he did, I think, a couple of times because it was like just really bad coal or something. I don't know, but
Right.
but one of like the last time he went to do it, the fire leapt up into the can, and he basically like ran with it over to like to try and not minimize the amount of grass that got caught on fire.
Right.
But that was a fun experience. I've never had. You always see in movies when, especially like if they're set in um like uh like medieval times or something like that, where there's always like just a crowd of people with buckets running
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now
Uh
I know what that's like. Um, but yeah, we didn't even bother to call the fire department, even though like the grass was pretty poorly. Yeah, that's they always advise against that. They always like because people think they can handle it, and then they find out they can't, and by the time they actually call the people, it's too late.
Yeah. Yikes.
But we actually did handle it, so it was fine.
You can always trust a Scar family member to get rid of a small fire.
Well,
Call today
yeah,
at 555-555-210.
that's one of those things where it's like it's bad advice unless you don't do it. Like unless it like it's really bad advice, but if it works out, then it's fine.
Yeah.
Like you should always call them right away,
Yeah.
but it's fine because we didn't burn our house down.
It's fine. I'm not dead. Ugh, boy. So,
Well,
for the quiz, are we gonna do the thing that's slightly different?
yeah. I didn't really have a quiz in mind other than the elusive D&D alignment quiz that we will do someday, but it's just long and wordy, and maybe it'll have to be a special episode.
Yeah.
Um, but I was thinking, since we have a bit of an audience here, if anyone has questions they would like to throw at us,
Yeah.
of any variety, maybe like a superlative question of some sort.
Yeah. It is gonna be tricky to answer.
We could answer some of those right now,
Yeah, sure. If we wait for it, yeah, it's gonna be
or
a free few trickle in.
yeah, we can always pick them up later in the podcast as well.
Yeah. Okay, so our first one here is from AG,
AG.
and it's what's your favorite kind of bird? Hmm.
I feel like there's some obvious like trick answers here in that like you could say penguin or like ostrich or something weird, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Is this something people have, favorite birds?
I mean, I'm gonna say flamingo because it's a flamingo. Um. Yeah, I know. flamingos are pretty cool. They eat lots of shrimp. And they're cool boys.
I see. The thing with favorites is I tend to like take it way too seriously and sit there for like hours
Contemplating.
making charts of like every bird and like running them against each other in
What's
tournaments
my
and
favorite
stuff.
phylum?
But off the top of my head right now, I don't know. I might go with like a raven or something, or just a crow. Yeah, actually, just a crow.
Okay, just a crow. Nice. So, hmm.
Crow is a normie bird, but that's part of the charm of it, you know.
So,
I'm a normie kind of guy.
I'm a normie bird kind of guy.
What's your favorite number? 42. And
Favorite number.
if you just stick around for MBP, I think that would all be very clear. Do you have a favorite number?
Oh yeah. Maybe 18 because it can be divided by so many nice numbers, like 2 or 6 or 3 or 9. It's 4.5. You know, I like numbers that are like quite nicely divided. Or
I do like 12 a lot.
oh yeah, 12 is another one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I like 12 a lot
Yeah.
for that reason. And I actually like the idea of like a base 12 number system,
yeah.
but that's not a question. That's a
That's
oh, this is a reenactment of your fire situation.
yeah. Yeah. Is he?
I was gonna say that's not a question. That's a fire truck, but now I see little doggo wobbles there.
Man, this is. Do you think this is worth the art award thing?
Oh, this is absolutely worth the art award. Let me just
just give him a turn.
there we go.
There we go. That's one boat with. I guess since you've mentioned it, or we just cut that out completely.
What? There's no editing here. This is live.
Oh yeah. Sure. Right, I see. So might scroll up a bit. There's one that's like it's not a superlative, and it's from on the Discord server, the Ugly Heckling, but more commonly known as Kahlua Dev, and it's what do you eat for breakfast?
I think that's bold of you to assume I eat the same thing for breakfast, or even eat breakfast every day.
Yeah, I'm very not good at breakfast. I think I'll have it weekends, but I don't know. Weekdays I'm too busy getting ready for stuff, and I don't exactly eat non-foods in the mornings really.
Yeah, if there's one thing you should have learned about me by now, it's that I'm horrifically inconsistent in all aspects of my life.
Thanks.
So, but this morning I had a bagel, so there you
What
go.
did I have this
Hope
morning?
you enjoy that information.
I had a muffin and a chocolate brioche. So, oh boy.
Favorite sport? Probably soccer.
I think they've put sport in inverted commas.
Inverted commas. Those are called quotation marks.
Same difference. So, yeah, Brownie Emotion has asked for our favorite sport. Or, yeah. So I think I saw it before it was edited, and it was, "What's your favorite alternative sport?" So,
Oh, that's why it's in quotation marks.
yeah.
Mm,
Oh, it's a tough one. Maybe like
yeah,
rounders.
I
Well,
feel like
again,
it depends on how you define alternative
yeah.
sport. Like,
May
um,
actually, maybe Ultimate Frisbee, actually.
like would Magic the Gathering count? Because like there is a pro league for that.
I
In
know,
which
'cause,
case,
like,
like that's probably my
it's
favorite.
like chess and, like, esports are now
Well, people
regarded as sports.
esports, I feel like would be a different question because you'd have to say esport,
Yeah, fair enough.
um, but like
But
poker is, um,
that's a recognized sport, yeah.
that's a recognized sport and that's a card game. So,
So is darts, which I think is so, I think, yeah, I would say my favorite
um,
sport,
well, technically, Magic Arena, um, it would be an esport. So
yeah.
I think it could be qualified as either one.
Mm, mm. So, but yeah, I'd definitely say I think probably Ultimate Frisbee, yeah, if out of 'cause I can't really think of, alternate sports in my head.
Yeah, that's the thing. If I had a list of them, I could
I can
probably
in
tell you a
Yeah,
favorite.
I can think of, like, 2, which is, like, Ultimate Frisbee and, like, Rounders, which is a mixture of
Um,
baseball and cricket.
Ping pong is kind of fun. I don't know if that would count for this.
No, I think table tennis is a sports I know ping pong is different though, because it's
No, that's the same. I think,
well
as far as I know,
well,
that's the
yeah, no,
same.
when me and my, when me and my friends say, "Oh, let's play ping pong," it's pretty much like we're doing a rally, but you have to bounce it on both sides of the table instead of normal table tennis, where you
Yeah,
yeah,
it is a sport. I
yeah,
mean,
table
they play
tennis.
it at the Olympics, so there's
Yeah,
a that makes it a sport.
but yeah, um,
Um,
cool.
Anything can be a real sport if you think hard enough.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
I guess.
congrats on the level up.
Yeah.
Uh, let's scroll off a bit 'cause hmm.
Well,
Yes.
should we move on from question time, or are there some
Uh,
more?
I don't know. See if another
Oh,
diet.
hold on. Best bagel: poppy seed, sesame seed, cinnamon, or plain?
Oh,
Between those choices, cinnamon, definitely.
probably poppy seed because bagels are savory, and if you're gonna have a cinnamon bagel, you may as well have a donut.
You're a donut. Although I have noticed a weird thing in my brain that um, I I feel like cinnamon bagels are much better in the winter
Right.
because it's like it feels like a warmer food. I don't know
Like
how to explain
comfort
that
food?
otherwise. I guess, or just like the flavor palette seems like it would go well with like a warm drink.
Right, right. I see.
Um, so if it's like 90 degrees out, like it is right now in the summer,
Mm.
that's your freedom unit. Um,
Yeah, I'm not assuming you guys are literally
no,
boiling as soon as you
like
step
literally
outside,
just boiling.
just melting away. It's just a wisp of air.
um, yeah, it. I would. I think if it's hot out, I would prefer like plain or like blueberry or something like
Mm, mm,
that feels lighter. I don't know if that's like if that makes sense to other people, but it makes sense in my brain, and it's something I've
right.
realized recently. Like I think it's just something about cinnamon feels like it's warm, and I don't want it if it's already warm. Um, which one of this programs would you watch in these? We're all running on TV. What? Okay, so basically, if I'm flipping through channels, and there's a bunch of sports, and then a bunch of TV shows.
Hmm.
I mean, Doctor Who. Between these choices,
I mean, The Simpsons. That's a pretty epic XD. Well, if it's the older Simpsons, I know I know. I don't mind The Simpsons, but the newer ones. But the old ones were. Those were definitely the golden age of or the yellow age of The Simpsons.
I would watch Doctor Who or the random anime, depending on if it looked interesting, or tennis or soccer. One
Oh
of
yeah,
those.
sport.
Those would be my top 4
I
out of
guess.
this list.
Yeah. I guess sport. I would do football. Pool. I know I'm more of a snooker man myself, but I guess pool would be interesting. It's quite a fun sport. Forgetting a lot
Casually
of
screenshots your list for show notes.
yeah. Boy, we should have cashed in on the tier list fad.
It's never too late to cash in on a dead meme.
Yep. I guess so. So is that?
So, I guess moving away from endless question time.
I know you might come back to it like at the end as we're closing out.
I mean, if you throw random questions and we see it in the chat, it's like hard to resist, honestly.
And they're somewhat interesting.
But I know a lot of people were curious about a new bot, which may or may not have joined the server recently.
Yeah.
That is being very stealthy, and clearly no one can see it.
Nope, no one whatsoever.
No, not Craig. Craig's our friend who's recording this.
Yeah, probably.
He's a good bot boy.
Yeah,
no, there's another bot, which it's understandable though, AG, that you can't see him because we've made him so.
He's so hidden.
He's so hidden. I mean, yes, he's the snacky Patreon bot that slipped in. So I don't know how many of you listeners would be aware of this, especially anyone listening to this in the future probably has no idea. But just a little while ago, Patreon, which is a very helpful service for like crowdfunding projects such as podcasts and whatnot, they have changed their policies, and particularly the way they do their rates. And they made it very clear that anyone who had launched their Patreon before a certain date would be grandfathered in under the old rules.
Yeah.
And anyone making one going forward would be subject to their new tier system thing, which says to me like it's not gonna be good for the creators.
Yeah. If they're gonna have to change it for the old boys.
Yeah, because if the new system was objectively better than the old system,
then they would change it for everyone.
They would change it for everyone. Like you wouldn't have like the old users complaining, like that they want to be on their old system. So, I think they've released information on it. I'm sure you can look it up.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact details in front of me, but it's to do with the cut which Patreon will take, because they get, I think, 5% cut generally in the past,
Oh
and
yeah.
now they will take a different percentage
Yikes.
based on different factors. And
Yeah.
anyway, we wanted to make sure we got in before the change, so that's why there was a random unannounced sneaky Patreon bot hanging out.
Yep. 100% invisible snack.
Technically, it is up, and we will be adding some bonus content on there shortly.
Yeah, might you start pushing it, maybe.
But that's the situation with that.
Yeah. The situation.
I think also on the new system, they won't let you have multiple tiers unless you reach a certain uh, like milestone. I
Yeah.
believe, if I remember from when I was reading into it,
Yeah.
which is kind of lame because like that's a nice thing about Patreon is that you can have different tiers with different rewards, and
Yeah.
forcing
Guess
you to only have one tier is
bit like how YouTube also has run like the watch time and subscriber thing before you can do more stuff.
right.
Cash money and
Yeah,
life.
I wish YouTube had done the same thing that Patreon is doing, where basically if you already have ads running on your channel, then they will let you continue to run them.
Yeah.
But if you create a new channel, then they're subject to the new rules.
Yeah.
But I think with the YouTube adpocalypse and whatnot, they figured they would just play it safe and make everyone subject to the new rules.
Yeah, fair enough. So
But YouTube's also much less concerned about people leaving them than Patreon. Patreon, I think, it is ripe for some competitor to come along and steal other people.
yeah, well, that was subbable for a while, but then they merged.
Yeah.
And yeah, YouTube doesn't exactly have a competitor. There's like Vimeo, but yeah, no, they're not.
Yeah, and there was
People are saying
Vessel,
YouTube needs. Yeah.
which was like gonna be a competitor, and it looked a little bit promising, and then it got bought by Verizon and shut down because Verizon wanted to launch their own thing. And then
Yeah.
they launched their own thing and it sucked, and it got shut down like almost immediately after launching.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, cool, Verizon. So you ate up the potential competition so that you could support your own service, and then you did a terrible job.
Yeah.
It's like,
So, yeah.
this is not the best thing that could have occurred.
Yeah, definitely not.
It's basically like Verizon was like assisting Google in maintaining their monopoly, but like unintentionally.
Yeah. And it's not going to be like if YouTube, like people have been saying how YouTube should have competition, but it's like YouTube is like it's been built up for the past like what 15 years now, and not like there's not going to be just a new website that's just gonna plop out of existence and everyone's gonna flock to and cripple
Yeah.
Google. It's gotten to a point where I
Yeah.
think
The
I saw a
thing,
like half of the internet has used YouTube at least once.
right. The thing with with the internet and companies like this, and like you hear about it a lot with Facebook as well, where it really the because of the nature of like social media and stuff, it really benefits them to be monopolies.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if you want a platform where like Facebook where you can like be friends with people
yeah,
and like find other people that you know in real life, like you want everyone to be on the same platform. You don't want to have to like search 8 different platforms to see if like someone you know from high school is which one of them they're on,
Mm.
and then like have to switch between them every time you want to talk to different groups of people. Like it's much easier if it is a monopoly, but it
Yeah.
just kind of sucks for like all the benefits that come along with friendly competition.
Mm.
Um,
I guess that's kind of happened with Steam, where
yeah.
there's what like Epic. I think we talked about in this last episode, so I'll so I won't really go into it. But yeah, like how there's Epic and
You play.
Discord, Uplay.
Yeah, no,
I
this is
guess
good. I kind of wanted to talk
Origin.
about this again because
Mm.
I was thinking about it and like I don't really I don't really like the idea of having all these different launchers for different like selections of games. Like
Yeah,
from a purely consumer standpoint, it's so much easier to just launch Steam and have access to
yeah,
all of your games, including like Rocket League or whatever. Cough,
yeah.
cough. Um,
Or Borderlands 3.
right. But you can see the similar thing happening with streaming services as well.
Yeah,
Like Disney is pulling a lot of their stuff off Netflix
yeah, because they're trying to
so
make
they
what?
can launch their own Disney service,
What? Yeah, it's like Disney. I forgot its name. But yeah,
Disney Plus.
yeah, that was it. And then there's Hulu that's been around for a while.
Yeah, but Hulu is another sort of like collective one, kind of like
Yeah, yeah.
Netflix, where it's
Or
like it's got a lot of different stuff. But there's like
Amazon Prime.
there's a CBS one, there's HBO.
Oh, yeah, HBO. I was thinking, yeah, that was one. I was gonna say,
Um,
I guess
I-
Amazon Prime is somewhat like a competitor, but
that's again that's a little bit like it's trying to be a big collection of things, and
yeah,
that's I would much prefer that. I would
yeah. I
rather
think,
like
yeah, I think,
I would rather have Amazon Prime have all of the shows from like Disney and CBS and HBO.
I think they do. It's just like, yeah, it's like you pay with it with your Amazon Prime subscription, but you also have to pay for the individual show or
Well,
whatever.
no, that's like Amazon has a weird situation because it's trying to be like in competition with everything.
Yeah,
But
pretty much.
it's basically some stuff comes with your subscription, and that's their equivalent to like
Yeah,
Netflix. But then you can also buy stuff and watch it in the same service,
yeah, which
and
is
that's more of their
old
equivalent to like
Netflix.
iTunes.
Yeah,
But that's purchasing shows, and
yeah,
that's different.
because you do
But that's
get
a good
free shows with Prime.
but that's kind of a good example because like if you want to purchase something, you can buy it through iTunes or you can buy it through Amazon, but the money ultimately is gonna for the most part go back to whoever's content it is. Like
Yeah,
if you buy Game of Thrones through Amazon, then HBO is getting the money.
yeah, that's how they're able to have loads of stuff because it's not like Netflix where they're not really giving much money to the. Well, I guess they buy the shows, but like they're not every like individual subscription is being divided up to every provider of shows. But Amazon,
Yeah.
it's just I guess like uh, I guess like a interface to buy into. Um, yeah, to buy stuff off others. But I guess it's like like a collective shop. I guess so instead of going to like Disney Plus and buying a subscription and so on,
Yeah.
it's just you just pay. Yeah,
Yeah, I
directly
mean
to them.
it's much like Steam in that way.
Yeah,
It's like Valve is not creating all of these games on Steam.
no, that's probably not going to be
They
games.
will they will like give money to the people who are developing it,
And just take a small cut because profit.
and take like a cut. But that's the thing is like I don't know if their cut is too big or if the other developers that are getting greedy and they just want more or what. But it seems like it's objectively worse from a consumer standpoint to have to install like 5 different stores to play all your
Yeah.
games rather than have one store where it's all collected.
What I do
And
like is Steam has this feature on the library where you can just drag a game file and it will store the game on Steam, so you can access Steam from like games from
right.
others. So I've done that
Yeah.
with I think Overwatch and Minecraft. So if I want to do either of those, I can
Yeah,
just
that's
put
very
them up.
similar to, like, how I use iTunes, like, I don't, like, literally buy all of my music through iTunes, but
Right.
I will, like, drag music files onto iTunes, and it will just register them as, like, being in my library or whatever. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of ways you can do that, but having required, like, dedicated launchers like Epic and stuff is just
Mm,
it's just annoying. It's
yeah.
like, if all you play is Fortnite or whatever it is, then it doesn't bother you, but it's
Yeah. Or if
if
you play on
you
console, yeah, you're
yeah,
fine.
or if you play on console and it's like, yeah, then you don't even notice this sort of thing, but
Yeah, it's weird.
it's, I'd much rather, like, just go to one place and then type in the game that I wanna play and then play it. In the same way, like, I'd rather go to one, video service and find the video that I want.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then that directory should then be sharing the wealth with the people who created that video or that
Yeah.
game. Like,
I think
they shouldn't have to create their own, like, small services that are
mm,
worse versions of the bigger competitor
yeah.
just to make decent money.
Yeah. I think what probably should happen then is that it's a company that's like like for in the case of like Steam, it should be a company that like a company that doesn't already develop games, so there's no bias.
Mhm.
Because Blizzard is keeping all their stuff on their launcher because it's their launcher, and they don't want Steam to get any of their money, like Valve to get any of their money, and so on. But if there was just a third party who wasn't already making, like developing games, then there wouldn't be exactly a bias. So like, oh, I'm giving money, so my game is more publicized instead of them hiding it away because they don't want people, they don't want to like directly fund their competition.
Mhm. I guess maybe what I want is just some, like, yeah, like, some independent, like, open source, maybe like Mozilla or someone could write this, but just some program I can open, which will then list all of my games on all of the different
Yeah,
platforms, and when I click on one to play it, it will then, in the background, launch the launcher and launch the game from the launcher,
yeah,
and
or
I can just pretend that it's all in one.
or
It's called GeForce Now.
I
I'm not
mean,
sure GeForce Now
good chat.
is ready, but maybe one day.
Yeah, or I guess like as well, you could type it into the search bar and you could buy any game instead of having to, yeah, instead of having to go to each individual launcher to buy it because that's quite
Yeah,
annoying.
like, can you buy games through GeForce? I don't think you can.
No, you can only, uh, yeah,
Yeah, cloud gaming is, that would also be helpful because the other thing is if you have every launcher in one, like, packaged into one launcher, I can't imagine what the file size would be,
yeah. There
but
was
that would be a big thing.
there's the Google gaming system, which is a bit like similar to GeForce Now, or there's a couple other companies doing something similar, where they'll just have a bunch of computers, and then you have this box, and you just Google a game, buy it, and you can play it. It would be like a console. Yeah, it's essentially like a PC console. So yeah, of course, yeah, true. You can. There is a Discord launcher. I used that a couple times.
Mm.
I do use that sometimes when I'm.
Can you, like, launch stuff that's, like, on
So
Uplay
yeah,
through
yeah.
Discord, though?
So I will have Steam closed on my computer. I will go to my library. I'll click a game, and then Steam will boot up in the background as the game starts. So yeah, I think
Well, I mean, that does sound like what I want.
and they do have a
Um,
shop now, so you can buy stuff.
yeah, but the shop, I think you're just buying stuff through Discord, aren't you? I don't think you can,
It's not funding.
like, can you buy, um,
Where is the store? Activity nitro feeds. Where?
you still need to have all the launchers installed. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. I would love if there was some way to buy the games on Steam, but buy them through Discord and never have to like open Steam and worry about it.
Yeah, yeah,
And also if all the launchers were like packaged into Discord somehow.
yeah. Of course, that'd be
But
great.
it seems like an easier way to do this would be to have one launcher and to just have it fairly distribute the wealth in a way that everyone's happy with. But and Steam used to seem like that was the case, but there's very much disappointment from other developers
Yeah,
that are not fans of Steam.
yeah. Hmm.
I feel like someone asked an interesting question ages ago.
There was a couple interesting ones, but
Oh, I was just gonna answer someone's question about Hulu, which is
Ah,
Hulu was established as 1/3 ABC, 1/3 NBC, and 1/3 Fox.
right. Oh, and then
And NBC is owned by AT&T, I believe,
yeah,
and ABC is owned by Disney.
and so is Fox now.
And Fox was just owned by Fox, but then Disney bought Fox, so
Now they have 2/3.
then now they have 2/3, and I don't know if this has gone through yet, but I heard they were in talks with just buying out the remaining third. So, which is weird to do at the same time that you're also launching Disney Plus. So it's like they're gonna have simultaneously Hulu and Disney Plus.
I mean, they're a company that can legally build a nuclear reactor in their parks. So I don't know. I don't think
Is that how they power their parks?
no. Well, because that when they originally built them, they well, like intended them to be like mini cities, pretty much.
Oh, right.
So they have if they got planning permission, they could they can get planning permission from themselves. That's how they're able to build the rides. But they could actually build a nuclear reactor if they if they wanted to.
Yeah.
They definitely have enough funding.
Yeah, Disney's a big scary as far as companies.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm guessing it's definitely in the what was it's the something 500
Comcast, yes. Sorry.
Fortune 500.
And NBC is owned by Comcast. AT&T is the one that owns Warner Media, which would be Warner Brothers, HBO, DC Comics.
Mm.
Thanks for the correction, so it doesn't have to go in the next episode's correction section.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got way off the show notes, but that's okay. That's kind of
Yeah.
how this show goes.
Yeah. So in summary, capitalism.
Good summary.
So what should we do next? We have such a broad variety of things.
Let's just run it through in order.
Sure.
Although, here, let me skip ahead and say,
Mm.
I just started watching Good Omens recently.
No, it's a show, not just you were doing good things.
Yeah, no, I didn't see like a dove fly overhead or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a Amazon Prime show. It's got David Tennant and a bunch of other lovely people. I two things that drew me to the show are the actors and also the writers.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
um it's a what Neil Gaiman and I think Terry Pratchett was involved in
Mm,
some way.
mm.
But yeah, it's I'm about halfway through it. It's just a
Yeah.
mini series, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it so far.
Cool, cool.
I don't know if you have access to watch that or something, but if
Yeah.
you did watch
Mm,
it, we could talk about
I
it.
could do it.
But
Yeah, sure.
otherwise, I'm just gonna give it a quick recommendation. Good
Cool.
Omens, nice show.
Oh yeah, there's other
Um,
thing.
so
But yeah.
let's move away from that.
So hmm. Uh, so yeah. So I've been doing this whole school thing for about 12 years now. I guess proper school 10, 11 years now. But yeah, it's yeah. So I've been but yeah, I've finally hit another milestone in the great English education system, because it's
Mhm.
definitely not flawed at all. And now I'm doing my GCSEs, or to put it fancily, General Certificate of Secondary Education.
Oh, is that what GCSE stands for?
Yeah, it's yeah, it's pretty much saying, yeah, you can do this ish, kinda well for A levels. So that'll be so
Are there
yeah
any other lettered levels?
um
Like, are there B levels?
there's so actually GCSEs used to be called O levels, but then they have so first year of sixth form you do your AS levels, which are like I guess like your mocks, um and then you do your A levels. I think they're starting a new one which is like S levels, and that's like if you don't have anything to do academically, they'll just like teach you how to be like a construction worker or a plumber or something like that, where it's like you're not, yeah, like even though you're not too academically gifted, you can just do something if you want.
Mhm.
So it's teaching them like basic skills for decent jobs, which is something that's in quite high demand at the moment
Yeah,
with the amount of houses that need to be constructed in the next decade or so. So yeah,
yeah. It's surprising how many, like, jobs that are kinda looked down on as, like, "Oh, manual labor," whatever, but they're actually, like, fairly challenging to automate
yeah,
compared to some jobs that it's, like, are seen as, like, more prestigious, like, "Oh, you have to go to school and
yeah.
learn how to do this thing," and then it's like a computer is just gonna do it, and you'll be out of a job in, like, 5 years.
Yeah, I like. Did you see the what's his name? Marquise Brownlee. How when he did an interview with Elon Musk.
Uh, I don't think so, but, what
They
was
were
it
just
about?
talking about just Tesla and just having it. Well, the stuff you talk about with Elon Musk if you got the chance. And he was
Sure.
saying, "What's so how much of the factories are automated?" And it's like actually quite a bit, but there's still a few jobs that do need to still have yeah be like manned. So I
Mhm.
think there's one way, like part of the car, we have to connect these two pipes together, and the way they kind of drop down and dangle, only like a person with enough like dexterity can actually grab them and like tighten them together. Because they tried it with robots, and the robot would grab one, grab the other, let go of the other, try to move them together, and just like start flop. But humans have like
Yeah.
a physical context of the world and know how to. Um, he gave that as an example, but there's
Yeah,
plenty of jobs
that
where
that sort of situation, I feel like could be handled soon enough, like,
yeah,
it's
definitely.
maybe more efficient to just have a human do it now, but in a factory context, you could imagine, getting a robot to do that, but
Yeah.
I think any kind of job that requires someone to go like into your home and fix something, like a plumber or something,
Yeah.
is like you're not gonna have a robot go into be like intelligent enough to go into someone's home that looks nothing like the other person's home
Yeah.
and
Well,
like go fix a pipe without.
I mean, I guess by the time we'd have robots that complex, we would have perfect plumbing that never gets damaged.
Yeah, or just like yeah, they would just be like almost like human-like intelligence at
Yeah.
that point.
And that's like what I think someone, if you measure like the storage of a human brain, it's like 2.5 petabytes.
Yeah.
Uh,
But anything in like a factory
of
scenario,
data
I
and
think
processing. Hmm.
is there's much less random
Yeah.
things. Like you don't have to worry about it just like randomly tripping over people's junk
Yeah. But
or having like something built in a way that's not consistent with the way other things are built. Like
yeah, like skyscrapers complying with sightlines in London, showing you stuff like the cheese grater and yeah.
have you been to the hot dog recently?
No, actually not in a while. But it's definitely still one of my favorite places in the whole of the London place.
Mhm.
Uh,
I'm gonna have to make the great pilgrimage someday.
it's a pretty, it's quite a like a upper class restaurant. But so it cost a pretty penny. But yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Well,
I guess travel, staying expenses, and then. Actually, I think you have to book it a few months in advance. But I think sometimes if it's empty, you can just go up there and get a coffee or
I
go to
mean,
the bar.
the restaurant would be like just bonus points at that point. Uh,
You
I
just get
think
well,
standing out the building,
you can't get past the front desk unless you have a reason to being there. So they'll ask you.
just touching the outside of the building, I think would be enough for me.
Oh yeah, fair enough. It's like, what is that strange man doing outside our building? They're just like caressing the glass.
Yeah, Schuler, you want to come or take a field trip?
MBP field trip. But yeah.
Um, uh, all right, next topic.
So this past week is why it's been tricky to record this episode. Well, not record live this episode is because I've been away in a nice village in Cornwall for my half term break or midterm, whatever you guys call it. But pretty much, uh, the town is famous for filming a show called Doc Martin, which is about this like
Hmm.
this top class London surgeon who has to move to the small town, small surgery because he develops like a fear of blood, and he goes there for therapy. I think, like just an escape.
I've
Uh,
watched part of that show with no context because
ah, I
um
see.
like a friend's mom was watching it while I was at their house, and then
Oh, I
I
see.
basically just sat down and watched it.
Mm. Uh, yeah, no, it's a weird show to watch with no context, but I went to the
That
went
backstory was helpful. Now it all makes a little more sense.
yeah, and the doctor's slightly like uh slightly autistic, I think, because he was or and also was abused as a child. It's like it, no, it unfolds the more you watch
Hmm.
about why the doctor's quite antisocial and how grumpy he is constantly.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so I went there, but they were filming this last season because they will film every other year there. So the past 3 years, first year I went, they were filming. Next year, like last year, they weren't, and this year they were filming again. But it's just interesting. Like, there's all these people crowd around like the blind spots of the camera, just watch the filming. That's But it's interesting just seeing this like there was a car park not far from all the sets, and it was just filled with vans and uh, like filming equipment, and they converted like a small garage into like like a stall set thing. But yeah, it was just interesting seeing like live the process of filming a like TV shows, like those behind the scene videos, but no editing. So
Mhm.
most of it was like standing around as they're changing a lens and adjusting lighting, or
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff's always cool to see.
one of the scenes they were doing involved the dog, so they were trying to get the dog to run the right way and respond to this command, but not the other. And that was quite funny to watch. But it was kind of interesting as one of the things I kind of want to do later on in life is I guess make short films or sketch type things. So it was quite a
Mhm.
nice little insight, and I could PC don't fall asleep now. Um, but there was a lot of dollies, surprisingly, for a shot that was quite static. Uh, it was cool seeing like the stuff they use for uh, shows. I kind of watch and enjoy. But so whenever I see like a panning shot on that show, it's like, oh, I remember how they did that in the when I went to go see them record it live.
Yeah.
Or
Well, the thing is with the setup, you wanna maximize your time with the talent. So,
yeah,
uh, if you're gonna need a dolly for one shot, even if all the other shots are, like, mostly static,
yeah,
you still wanna get it all, like, hooked
yeah,
up and, like, set up on the dolly before you start actually filming.
yeah.
Because
They did.
um
It was a bit weird because they were doing it in, like, I guess, order of easiest to set up shots, so it wasn't making much like chronological sense.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Um,
But you don't wanna get some
yeah,
famous actor out there, have him do a line, and then be like, "Okay, could you hang on for, like, 20 minutes while we mess around with lighting and change the camera?" It's like,
funny
no,
enough, I
you
think
wanna
uh,
streamline it as much as possible.
funnily enough, I the main actor Martin Clunes, who is like kind of like the face of the show,
Mhm.
it was actually what the part we saw. We did see there was a part where they filmed outside the house, which like the not the, like the surgery, which is just a house um they rent out whilst filming. Actually, it's funny because of how because like the place they film is actually just a holiday home because it sometimes gets changed. They have this farm like a couple miles from the actual village where they have all the sets of some of the interiors and all the vehicles they use. Like there's this police car, Defender, like uh, like Ranger, Land Rover Defender. Um, yeah, no,
Mhm.
it's just a few like cars that are specific to the show that they need. Um,
Yeah.
so they mainly do all the filming over there, but sometimes they'll record something in the middle of in the heart of the village. That's quite interesting walking by occasionally.
Yeah.
Something else that was filmed there though as well was this movie called Fisherman's Friends. Um, and they're a real like they do sea shanty stuff. Um, and they're a real band, but they had a movie made about them because they're kind of like a underdog story, I guess, because they were just these six guys who went out and sung at their local pub every Friday night, and then some like musical producer happened to come into the village that one time and heard them and gave them a record deal, and yeah,
Nice. Yeah,
but they,
that's like every, like, local band's
yeah,
dream,
and they
so
did
that would make a good movie.
but yeah, they did a live performance but like on the beach whilst we were there. Like the last evening, so we went and sat there and listened to uh
Wobbles Village, yeah, that's,
oh no,
um
it's not the it's not the village I live in. It's a village somewhere in Cornwall. I think it's in the show
it's
it's
called
called
Wobbles.
but yeah, it's called Wales. Um, in the show, it's called Port Wen, but its actual name is Port Isaac. It's funny because there's so much stuff in the show that says Port Wen. You never realize how much like small details in the background have to be changed. Like there would be like a dance saying, "Ooh, come to the Port Wen school." You're like, "Oh, that doesn't exist. That was
Yeah,
someone was paid to do that in 2 minutes."
yeah. There's a show that's like um partially filmed in like the town I grew up in,
I see.
but yeah, in the show they call a different they call like the town a different name,
Yeah, yeah,
and so yeah, there's I uh I definitely have seen them like have to change some signs
yeah.
downtown to like make it make sense.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're kind of like in that fictional world for a small bit.
it's it's interesting. I think that show got canceled though,
Oh,
so
oof.
probably won't see
Like
them
all good
filming there
things.
anymore.
Well, I don't know. Was the show good? Did you ever watch it?
I've not. I should
Hmm.
sometime.
Oof. Fair enough.
Um, that was a static noise.
So, as if you were in the live chat earlier when we forgot to leave, uh, yeah, I've started editing a couple of the MBBCs, or most of them now. But I've noticed something weird, and it's to do with like your your accent. So, I think a good example is when I'm spending ages cutting out ums, and my ums are more round, and you're like rigid.
Rigid ums.
Yeah, so your voice like because sometimes I'll make this like noise because it makes a funny wave, but I've noticed that in your speech, so like you have this like underlying like
Hmm.
crickety not cricket, I don't know, like yeah, like that type of noise in like the like it's really subtle, but looking at like sound waves, I kind of noticed it. It's like, oh, that's cool. Uh,
I'm not sure I follow. Like the
uh, I guess like the I guess is it raspiness?
maybe. You saying like my when I say my sound wave ends more abruptly and yours like drags on.
Yeah.
It's like
Like also in speech, I like if it feels like it's hard to say with like showing it's really like tricky, like but yeah, your voice seems to be more like it makes a more jagged waveform. Like, oh that's weird. And it's whereas mine is like slightly more like curved off, I guess. So yours ends a bit more abruptly
yeah.
than
I'm like all sawtooth
yeah.
sound waves and you're just a nice flowing sine wave.
Yeah. Well, I
You're
mean,
you're blowing my robotic cover.
yeah. But
You're analog, I'm digital.
yeah. So that was just the thing I noticed.
Um, that is interesting. Yeah, I I mean, I can definitely like recognize some sound waves from just from editing the show, but
Oh yeah,
I haven't paid too much attention to that specifically.
I've noticed different. I can do arms now. I can just like look at
You can
one.
kind of spot them. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they'll sneak in, but it's because like someone will say a word, but then go like "hi," so it joins up. So I have to like if I want to fix it, I have to do like like I have to zoom in, do some like
Yeah.
surgery, and listen to the same
I
zero point
will
zero one
look when I'm
second again.
editing, I will occasionally like slice a word in half and like combine it with a previous or with like a future version of that word. Like you said something and you messed up and you said the same thing again,
Oh
but
yeah,
you forgot to say the first half of it. And so
yeah,
like I'll just slice bits together um from time to time.
yeah. And
But
sometimes don't we like if we sometimes we say stuff at the same time. If we but like we do like a split drag you and
oh
remove.
yeah. Yeah, it's
That's a favorite.
yeah. When we talk over each other really bad, the podcast could actually come out longer than the time it took to record it, because instead of just muting one person,
Yeah.
sometimes it's better to have us say both things. So you just have to cut it and
Yeah. Well, if they're both valid,
have one
sometimes
person talk and then have the other person talk.
yeah, it's like if they're both valid, because if someone, if we're saying the exact same thing just differently, I'll cut out one of us.
Yeah.
So say like
Yeah.
I was talking, and then like you cut in and we bring up a similar point at the same time. I think, how do I normally do it? It's kind of random, but I guess it's the context of the conversation. So if it's like if you brought it up first, then I'll mute myself. But if I brought it up first, I'll mute you, just so it, I
Yeah.
don't know, makes some form of sense.
Or if I just am saying something stupid, or just like you're just saying at the same time I'm saying something. I just
We've had, I've noticed a
Gotta
couple times actually already. We've said yeah at the same time when ending a point.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Like sync the audio tracks up, and then sometimes we will both say or both say yeah at the same time.
yeah,
It's like there's an awkward silence, and we both know there's like, oh, you leave like 1.5 seconds, and then you say yeah,
yeah.
and it's like we hit it at the same time.
Well, there's the habit I developed was the no but yeah thing. But here's the thing: I would do it. What will normally happen is I'll do it twice, and then I'll realize I'm doing it, and then my brain gets broken, so I'll just keep doing it. That's why it wasn't like one episode you pointed it out where it was just like a good 30 seconds of me
Yeah.
going insane slowly in my own brain.
Yeah. This has gone into a weird meta talk about editing,
Yeah,
but
it is.
yeah, sometimes you got to leave in a tactical though. Like,
Yeah.
it just sounds it sounds better with like the natural flow of the sentence. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I was editing this live one, there would be lots of ums to cut, but
Yeah, definitely. Maybe we should do like speech therapy before doing a live episode or something. Just try.
yeah.
But, yeah.
AG, you say I don't sound like this when I'm not recording? What do you mean? Like I don't
Oh. I guess we'll never know because they left. But yeah, so
he's probably having internet troubles.
I think what was it? Oh, I remember when we first started the show, I would put on like a podcasty explainy voice, and I remember we were just talking about something, and I remember I was using my big boy podcasty words, and I was like, "Hang on, no, this is a casual conversation. We'll stop it."
Yeah, and I think that still is the case a little bit.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty sure we've mentioned this in a
I think
previous episode, but it's like the first 15 minutes are just like awkward, like you're like trying to present, or you're not sure how to words.
yeah,
And then you get to the point where you're like, oh, this is like a normal conversation.
Mhm.
I think that's pretty
Yeah.
consistent.
But then by the end, we kind of just get lazy. So yeah.
Speaking of video games,
Well, seamless.
shall we move on?
Sure, let's hit up the next segment.
What have you been playing lately?
So while I've been away, before I realized the place I went to had internet, I've been playing all of. It's just such a good game. It's it's called Katana Zero on my Switch, and it's so I'll explain. It's like a the game like Hotline Miami.
No.
Oh, it's so right. So Hotline Miami is this top-down shooter thing, where you just have to wipe out a building of enemies, and you have stuff like you can throw weapons in certain ways, or kick doors, or throw objects, and stuff like that.
Okay.
So imagine like a game like that, but it's a side scroller. You have a
Platformer.
katana, and you have time travel powers.
Yeah, I did a Google image search here. It's like very like neon
Yeah, it's
aesthetic.
retro-y. And
Yeah.
it's got a great like, I mean, yeah, it's got a surprisingly well done story. I quite like the story of the game. But I've never had so much fun in a game, like, because sometimes you would get stuck on a part of a level, but because you've done the first section a million times, I'd be able to wipe out like this one specific group of enemies, but then get stuck. So yeah, 'cause the idea is like you're this like super soldier who's been drugged up on this like time travel juice. So you have this like precognition, so you can see. So I guess it's like seeing into. So I think an example was you talk to this like like this veteran who wasn't a part of this like super soldier project, and
Mhm.
he talks about how all these people were able to win games of cards because they knew exactly what you're going to play because they played it a million times in their heads. So every time they would lose, they would reset time and go again.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you're like this assassin guy, and it's quite funny. It's like got quite humorous moments as well. But yeah, it's definitely, I think, probably the best game I've played so far in 2019. I think it's gonna be pretty hard to beat that unless I don't know I get my hands on Borderlands 3 somehow. But,
Looks pretty cool.
yeah, it's a great game.
What is the zero? This guy looks like he has a katana.
So yeah,
Katana 1.
you know what? For the sake of not spoiling anything, I'm just gonna say because it's a name.
Okay. Maybe there's a point to the zero, maybe not. We'll see.
Maybe,
Just have to
maybe.
play it to find out.
Oh, and also the music's great. It's got a good.
It looks like a game that would have good music.
Yeah. Because
Um,
I guess like how they kind of like do the time travel ability is your guys listening to music,
mhm.
but whenever you get like killed and reset, the music rewinds with you. But yeah,
I feel like there was a Nick Cage movie with a similar concept.
there was. Yeah, I've been thinking if there has been. I know there's like Super Hot, which is time moves when you do.
Yeah.
Maybe Super Meat Boy.
No, I think there was definitely
Maybe it's Katana -1.
a Nick Cage movie.
Long Sword 1.
I just don't remember the name of it. But
Hmm.
anyway,
Yeah, I know. What games have you been doing lately? Playing.
I've been doing. I did some Xenoblade Chronicles. I got kind of confused because I was like, oh, the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is the Switch game, so clearly the Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii U must be Xenoblade Chronicles 1. But it turns out Chronicles 1 was on the Wii, and 2 is on the Switch, and the Wii U got Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is maybe like a side story. I am not sure I even like this series, but I have all 3 of those games now, and I'm probably gonna play them at some point. So
Yeah.
I guess stay tuned. I did enjoy the character creator on
Yes, I think I remember seeing screenshots from the game.
Chronicles X. Yeah, I was tweeting about it, but yeah, character creation is always fun.
Yeah, I
I
do quite.
I agree with you, chat.
I do quite like it in I like making Minecraft skins. That's always a fun old time. Making because that's a bit more Because you
Yeah.
do have to use third-party software, but that's quite nice because it's like
Well, that one you have a lot of control of because
Yeah.
it's literally just like you're
and
making
now
a
there's
custom
like
skin.
layering features and everything, so you can do. I've seen some like crazy skin, like there's like an upside down skin, which is pretty cool.
But yeah, I think I might have mentioned, or people might know, Final Fantasy VIII is one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
It's definitely my favorite Final Fantasy game.
Hmm.
But the main character in that has a big scar across his face, and like his best friend sort of character that joins the party pretty quickly has this crazy like Mike Tyson style face tattoo.
So you have Mike Tyson and David Bowie team up.
So in the character creation for this Xenoblade game, I was looking at all the options and I realized there was like a scar that looks just like Squall from Final Fantasy VIII and a face tattoo that looks pretty similar to Zell from Final Fantasy VIII. So I was like, I'll just put them both on there, just cover all the bases. And then I also made my person green because I guess because I always play an orc in Elder Scrolls, like Morrowind or Skyrim or whatever.
Skyrim 6 has been announced, hasn't it? No, sorry, it's Elder Scrolls.
Skyrim 6.
There's been 6 Skyrims.
Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah, it's been announced in the sense that they showed us like a picture of a mountain.
They showed us a panning shot of a hill.
Yeah, the words Elder Scrolls 6
with Skyrim music for some reason. Sorry, just
well, I think it was just general Elder Scrolls music. I mean, Morrowind had pretty similar music as well.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
That's the one I've probably played the most, but because I'm a grumpy old man, and I played it back when it was good.
I think
they sold out.
You're like Fallout people who are like, oh man, Fallout New Vegas. No, you're like what's it called? Fallout 76 was garbage. Like actually, Fallout 4 was garbage. Fallout 3 was bad. It's like, oh, Fallout. You know what? Fallout 2. I think we should. And then people are like, nah, I like playing.
I do know someone who is like super into Fallout, and then recently had a complete turnaround because 76, and it's like they've backpedaled to where like, oh, the whole series is garbage, and I'm like, I just like sometimes I just like things and I just stick with it, you know. I feel like your opinion should not sway in the wind based on like the internet's general consensus.
Opinion.
Yeah.
I think there's people always also like New Vegas as well, but that's also quite. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the main thing is for me is that Morrowind had a bit more like stats and like things like more like nuance and stuff like medium armor. Like there's light armor and heavy armor, but there was also medium armor.
Yeah.
But with Oblivion, they started to like simplify stuff and remove a bunch of the like nitty gritty details.
I see.
And then, but it didn't really take off. And then Skyrim, it's like they did even more so, and they added stuff like scaling is really heavy in Skyrim, where if you just waltz into a side quest, it'll scale the difficulty of the enemies based on your current level.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas in Morrowind, if you just walked into some really like powerful dungeon, you would just get wrecked.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, I shouldn't go there. I should go train, do other missions, and then come back here.
Oh yeah, I did that with Borderlands bit and the Minecraft RPG I play occasionally, Minecraft.
But like Skyrim, I guess like they didn't want to scare off people with like
there's
challenge. I don't know.
I think Actually, a great example of like leveling with the player is I think Resident Evil 4. There's a Game Maker's Toolkit video on it. I think you probably should watch it. But what would happen is like if you get killed in an area too many times, they will remove like one hardcore enemy. And then like there'll be subtle changes that will make it slightly easier.
Hmm.
But depending on how many times you'll lose, they'll just keep tweaking it. But then as soon as you like beat it, the next area will then go back to the. I think it'll still say quite easy, but then if you beat the next area quite quickly, then they'll make the next area slightly tough. And then so it, like fluctuates to like how many times you die, or and
Yeah.
so that's quite a good way of
The
doing it, but not just like the player's level. I find that sometimes quite weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's just an interesting way to make sure people don't get stuck in your games
Yeah,
and stuff. I always have mixed feelings about that because I really like, challenging games,
yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah,
like, if I get stuck on some level, I wanna get better at the game to the point where I can beat it, you know?
yeah,
I don't want the level to make itself easier for me.
yeah,
Um, that I feel like that's a little bit like when you're playing a game against someone and you're losing, and then
yeah,
they go easy on you so that you can win. It's like, "No, I don't want that. I wanna be better so I can beat you."
yeah. I guess yeah. Like when I was playing Katana Zero, I would get like these reflexes and like over time I'd have these just natural reactions to do stuff. So like over time, uh if there was something that was challenging, I was able to do it easily during just like rinse and repeat sections. So there was like there's an enemy that has a shield. So whenever I see those, always run up to them and slide under them, then stab them in the back because that's just the
Yeah.
inbuilt reaction.
Yeah, like, your
Uh,
muscle memory just builds up over
yeah.
time and you get better and better.
So
Um,
after I think I've played 2 run throughs of the game, and that's that it yeah, everything's now apart from like I think the first like quarter of the game is now just muscle memory to me
mhm.
of doing everything of like grabbing this item to throw at this person and heading here to go there and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um, yeah. I think, I think that sort of thing in game design is always interesting, and you should definitely put that, um, Resident Evil, video you mentioned in the show notes when this episode gets formally released.
yeah, whenever that'll
Uh,
be
but,
pretty soonish.
uh and yeah, I think the original Spyro trilogy actually may have, pioneered this concept a bit
Hmm.
because I know, like, some of the challenges and I think the boss fights would do this where it's like if you lost too many times, they would adjust themselves to be easier and stuff, so you wouldn't get
Yeah,
stuck, but I, like, personally, just because of the way I play games and I, like, almost to the point of, like, torturing myself, um, like, our only play Terraria on, hardcore mode and just delete my character every time.
right.
Like, I think just because I play games in that sort of way, it doesn't really appeal to me, but I do find the concept of it interesting and, like, the the way in which um, games are programmed.
Yeah, but
Um,
hmm,
I guess, um, other games I've played recently since since recording the last episode,
mm,
the I finally got a chance to play the new Spider-Man game, the PS4 game.
mm,
Speaking of, the original Spyros, the that Spider-Man game is also made by Insomniac.
yeah, same
Same.
as what's the other one? Ratchet and Clank, which
Yeah. Yeah, they made, like, Spyro Trilogy, and then they made the Ratchet and Clank, uh, games, and then they've done, I guess, some other stuff, but most recently, I think they've made, that new Spider-Man game. It's pretty fun. I have to say, like, I always appreciate when a video game that's based on an existing property actually like puts effort into the story and like
Oh, yeah.
into making itself a real game.
Yeah, the Spider-Man, yeah, that it's a good game, mind you.
Yeah, like I think Spider-Man games have always been pretty decent about that.
Yeah, well,
A lot of video games that are based on like a movie or based on some other kind of property, or in the same way, like movies that are based on video games or just existing properties, like sometimes they get real lazy and come
yeah,
out as like real just garbage. Like we know you're gonna go watch this because it's uh it's got Sonic the Hedgehog in it or something, you know,
yeah,
or like we know you're gonna play this game because you're 8 years old and it's uh based on the most recent Disney movie.
yeah.
Like, but
She
it's not
when
actually it's a real game. It's just like a little collecting platformer with
right,
not much to it, not much substance.
yeah.
Um,
I yeah,
but I feel like the Spider-Man games have always been good about not falling into that trap and like actually
yeah,
maintaining interesting. And part of it is probably the advantage that um, I think Spider-Man and Batman both have is that they have really interesting villains.
yeah. They're also quite, like, good, like, gameable characters,
Yeah, like the web. There's so much you can do with like
and also,
web
like,
shooting, or in Batman's case, like gadgets. I think
yeah, it works, it translates well into, like, mechanics.
I
Actually, I
would
remember
like to see more superhero games though. Like a Daredevil game would be cool,
mm,
something like that.
yeah. Can you imagine it's like imagine, like, it's just a black screen, but then, like, there'd be, like, yellow, like, flash marks where, like, you could hit someone.
You just have to play it by the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, if someone did make a Daredevil game, you know there would be people on YouTube that were
Yeah,
like doing blindfolded let's plays
yeah,
of it.
with, like, surround sound speak, 'cause it would work well as a VR game, actually.
Yeah.
Um, but I say, I remember one thing a couple companies were doing when, the new the Spider-Man game came out,
Mhm.
um, they were getting, like, all the old Spider-Man, like, what was the one game that everyone hated before this one? Anyway, it was that one, but, to trick
No
dumb
Man's
parents,
Sky.
they slapped a slightly bigger, they slapped a slightly bigger price tag on it, um, and sold it to, like dumb parents or grandparents thinking that they were getting the new Spider-Man game for their kids, which is kinda scummy,
Ooh.
but
The most recent Spider-Man game before this Spider-Man game, so it still said Spider-Man on it.
yeah, so it's
That's
and then they would
that's, uh,
yeah,
shady.
yeah, and I do, like, yeah, I don't know. It it does lose some good boy points for being a exclusive title because exclusives are poopy poo.
I
Quite.
mean, I don't know.
I mean, there are I get, like, there's mechanics that would only work on a PS4 controller, but, like, at least, like, PC.
No, I mean, I that's on Sony, and that's part of their strategy, and
Yeah, I don't know.
Sony always tries to go after, good exclusives, and I think tends to get them
Yeah.
more often
Well, since the PS4's become quite popular,
than Microsoft.
but yeah, no, I don't
But
know. Those console companies have been doing some.
I try not to let that sort of
Yeah,
thing,
I mean,
affect my
this.
opinion of the game.
Yeah. Of
I think
course.
the game is really well made and
It just
abstract.
makes me dislike the company a bit more.
I actually really appreciate how that game will flow straight from
The intro
cut,
sequence.
well, the intro sequence, but also like any cutscenes,
Yeah. They do
um,
that quite well.
like cutscenes and gameplay are just seamless.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, games that can do that are very good as well, like cutting to black and then slowly fading in. A big criminal of this was the Destiny games. I think mainly Destiny 2, which was like you'd be playing and then you'd come to a part and then it would just flash the enemies like the enemy team's like faction flag up
mhm.
and then like tell you about exposition and boring story. So you know that's a game that definitely does not do cutscene transition well. Of just here we're doing this part now,
Yeah,
but yeah um
I guess the only other stuff I played recently were I finally got my brothers to play some multiplayer Switch stuff.
oh nice.
Yeah, some Bomberman, some Mario Kart, some
Oh yeah,
Mario
I noticed
Party.
that a lot while I was once I was on the Switch. I would get like a little notification that Star
Yeah,
Hero was playing uh,
playing
Super
some game
Bomberman or
some
Rocket League
games.
or so on and so forth, etc., etc.
Hmm. Hmm. I do appreciate that you can play the Switch Mario Kart on a GameCube controller.
Of course, yeah, because they have you can do that with the fancy
Yeah,
ones.
because um, it registers a like GameCube controller, like even an original, packaged with the GameCube controller. You plug it in, and it just registers as a wired Pro controller, and uh, yeah, it's excellent to play some Mario Kart on that.
So have you what have you caved in and got Mario Kart on the Switch?
No, I was borrowing
Ah, I see. Okay.
brother's girlfriend's copy of it, but yeah, no, it's still one thing. I don't have any money,
Yeah, fair enough.
but for two, like, it still doesn't feel quite worth it to me when I have the Wii U
Yeah.
version with all the DLC. Like I would enjoy it, but I can enjoy it on the Wii U just as much.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Switch is, um, I think, particularly great for multiplayer. It's very easy to like just use the Joy Cons and um,
Yeah.
play a bit of. Oh, Rocket League was the other game we were playing the other
Yeah.
day.
I think. Yeah. I
That
remember seeing that pop up a bit.
um, I definitely don't regret my choice because I was on the fence of like, do I want the Steam version or do I want the Switch version?
Oh, I see.
Um,
Yeah, fair enough.
and it's now being removed from Steam.
Of
Um,
course, here it is 'cause it's going on other places.
because it was, or at least it's rumored to be removed from Steam because it was bought by Epic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm happy with my choice to get the Switch version because I realized if I want to play with people in person who don't have a copy of the game,
Yeah.
it's like the Switch is great for just put it on the TV and do split screen
Yeah.
versus having it on Steam and like trying to get other people to have working computers and copies of the game to play with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But yeah, So have you any other game talk or any
no.
any final questions, perhaps?
Yeah, if there's any other questions, you wanna pop in before we end it off? I think there was one. Was there one up here?
You should get a Switch when Pokemon comes out. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on the Animal Crossing that was supposed to come out this spring, I think. It's a bit late.
What's a it's a random question that was dropped a bit ago, and it's do you have a driver's license?
Me?
And I guess it was a question to the board, so both of us.
Oh. Not currently.
Yeah, me neither.
Yes to the board.
Who does have a. I know someone who has a driver's license because they got it just to get it, but they haven't actually driven at all in like 3 years since getting a car, since getting a driver's license. So yeah,
I really should get mine. It's just, then you have to have a car and you have to pay car insurance
and like
and
petrol money or gas money.
Yeah, gas. And be a real proper adult. And
Yeah.
the longer I can hang out in the town I'm in, which has like amazing public transportation compared to like 99% of the US. Then
Yeah.
the longer I can go without having to pay all that crazy expensive extra expenses.
Yeah.
But it is something I should probably do
look
soon.
into. Yeah.
What multiplayer games do we play?
Well, obviously, play a lot of Overwatch.
I don't. If you
heavy.
mean like competitive multiplayer, I don't. I feel like I don't play too many.
I
But
guess
I'm just a big fan of like party games, like Mario Party or Smash Bros. But like, I tend to play Smash Bros. A lot more casually. People get too into it, I think, and turn all the items off and play Final Destination every match. And I think unless you're actually the sort of person to go compete in a tournament, then you're probably like trying too hard, and you should relax and turn items back on.
Yeah. So what's
not that isn't fun from time to time to like really take it seriously, but I think I always have fun with games like that. I don't same with like Mario Kart. It's like I will get very competitive and I will like try and destroy you, but I'm not the sort of person who's like memorizing every turn and getting really into like the meta.
Yeah, I know what's that. Trying for casual online game I play. Probably like mobile games because they're technically multiplayer by a smidgen. But not really though. Yeah, I guess the closest to a to like a non-competitive multiplayer game I played was Clash of Clans. Which we talk about though was we did talk about there being a professional league for that with like $1 million trophy or something ridiculous like that. Cash prize. So
Shu asks, if you are on a train, would you rather face the direction the train is headed or the opposite?
I quite like going. No, I quite like the opposite because you get to. Because if you're looking forward, if something interesting passes, you're like, oh, that's gone. But if you're looking opposite, you can look at it longer.
I would. That's good because then if we're ever on a train, we can like, face each other. But I would definitely want to go the same way that the train is heading.
Yeah, I get it's also like a motion sickness thing as well. Only people who have to sit going the direction the train's going so they don't die of the death.
I don't know about that. I mean, I do get motion sick, especially if I try and read in a car or something. But I just think about this on buses a lot as well, where
Oh yeah,
I'm always in the back of my head thinking about like, oh, what if this bus crashed into the side of that building or got hit by a car in the intersection. And
all the healthy
in
thoughts.
most cases, you're gonna fly forward because the vehicle is moving forward.
Right.
And I'd rather be able to see what I'm about to crash into and react to it than you know, not be able to see where I'm going and just be like hurling backwards
Yeah.
into things.
I mean, trains are pretty safe. I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of an irrational thing, but I think that's just why I would, if you're gonna ask me which way I would rather face, it's like I'd rather face the direction the vehicle's moving because
right.
if the vehicle stops suddenly, you're gonna continue going in that because of inertia, and
Yeah.
it's like I'd like to see where I'm going rather than just like go backwards off a cliff.
Fair enough. Any other questions before we stop for whatever time it is for you?
Yeah, I think I'm noticing that it's much harder for us to stop when there's a audience than we would normally.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been fun, and hopefully it comes out okay. And ideally later today, it should be out on the normal feeds with the MBBC
Yep.
tacked on to the end of it. So if you're listening to this on your podcast player or on YouTube, that'll be coming up shortly.
Wait, should we... Where were we?
Of course, we have some technical difficulties right at the end.
Yeah. So just a quick sneaky question before we go. What is your favorite color?
Green.
And orange.
Probably, if I had to pick a shade, like a dark green, like the wood around the frame. Anyway, that's the show, and BBC will be after this.
Hey. Chapter 16.
So where the last chapter left off, they found Magrathea.
Yep. Arthur wakes up to arguing.
Yeah, well, okay. It's at least what Zaphod claims is Magrathea. Ford is skeptical. There's this lovely moment where Ford doesn't believe that it's Magrathea, so he checks with the computer, and then the computer tells him it is, and he's just like, "Oh, you can't trust computers. What does a computer know?" It's like you see that a lot when people are arguing. They're like, "No, you're clearly wrong," and they look it up, and they're like, "Well, I mean, Wikipedia is, you can't really trust it." It's like,
Yeah.
This, I'm gonna prove you wrong with this authority, and then it's like, if the authority doesn't agree with me, it's like meaningless.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. And then Arthur's like staring at this planet that is apparently this legendary planet he's never heard of, and he's like, I feel like I've missed something important. And then he realizes, oh, I haven't had my morning tea. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that was the important thing. Tea.
And then they're all talking. He's like, "Oh, is there any tea on the ship?"
Yeah.
As like they're landing on, they're coming into orbit of this just like this iconic planet.
Mm. And then, have you got your book on you?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember the end of that chapter? It's like, it's kind of weird. It goes into like spoiler territory for itself.
I do quite like how it the planet in question is in fact the legendary Magrathea. The deadly missile attack shortly to be launched by an ancient automatic defense system result merely in the breakage of 3 coffee cups, a mouse cage, the bruising of somebody's upper arm, and the untimely creation and sudden demise of a bowl of petunias and an innocent sperm whale. It's like where does this come from?
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to say that. It says we're not going to tell you who bruises their arm, not even in the next chapter. Right,
that's the suspense part.
Yeah.
They're building suspense, but like the whole point was like stress is a common problem. Trying to relieve stress by telling you what's going to happen.
Yeah, but they're going to keep that overbearing suspense.
Yeah, just to add a little flavor. They're not going to tell you who bruises their arm. And that's basically where the chapter ends.
Yeah. Chapter 17.
So Arthur gets his tea.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
I think this is my favourite sentence I have ever read. It's again like the way that like earlier chapters how it says, it floated the way bricks don't.
Right.
And it gives you like a perfect image of what it was happening, even though it is really vague. This one, he is provided with a plastic cup filled with a liquid that was almost, but not quite, entirely unlike tea.
Yeah. Yeah. It turns out the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation is rubbish at making tea.
Yeah.
It also mentions that they have a huge complaint department that's like the size of a planet or something. Or 3 planets.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's no surprise to me that they mentioned that like in the future they get overrun by their own robots or whatever.
Yeah, at least he found the liquid reviving like a cup of tea.
Yes. I take that as just Arthur's not very picky about his tea.
Yeah, I guess
like
so.
It's nothing like tea, but maybe he's just, I don't know.
It's better than anything he has had so far. I mean, from his morning routine, we have found out that he's not exactly fazed by a bulldozer being in his front garden.
Yeah.
As he's getting ready. So
it's just the sort of person he is. So they head down towards the planet.
Yep. And like an announcement starts playing, and Zaphod is like, "No, don't worry, it's just a pre-recorded thing they play. They've been playing for the past 500 million years or so, just to keep people away." I think it's at first it's Arthur being somewhat suspicious, then Ford also being quite cynical because he has been throughout the past couple chapters about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
The threats seem to get a bit more specific and.
Yeah, it's like it might be automated messages, but it's clearly linked to automated defense system.
Yeah. So then they realize it does work and they're being chased by a nuclear weapon. And, well, yeah, so they put it into the ship into manual control. But they're all like, no, everyone but Arthur, like it said. So Ford's like, so can you fly the ship? Then Zaphod replies no, Trillian says no. Yeah, but then it's quite funny. It goes like, fine, said Zaphod.
And then Arthur's like, I can't fly the ship either.
It's like he felt like it was about time he began to assert himself. It's quite funny, because it's just like, yeah, this whole time he's kind of just walked onto the bridge and all this has happened while he's been having tea. But yeah. So they activate like the ship's control panels, but they're all still in like polystyrene packing with cellophane balls all around them.
Yeah.
So then they all start. So Ford leapt to the controls. Only a few of them made any immediate sense to him, so he pulled those. Feels like the funnily enough, like a very human response of like, oh, I know what that is, so I'm just gonna put it to fall.
I know how to turn left, so I'm just gonna go in circles.
Gonna...
Like, it's at least something.
But they seem to keep they seem to keep turning it around and going straight for the missiles.
And then eventually it gets to the point where it's like, they're gonna get hit, and Arthur is like, can we just use the improbability drive?
And then they're like, what are you talking about? What? Because they can't really.
Yeah, and then
Eddie's
it's like,
singing.
and then the chapter ends and they die again. Or do they?
But then I do quite like how like they're trying to say their final words. They can't hear each other because Eddie's singing loudly, and there's a lot of noise going on because they're all being flung around the cockpit.
God, yeah, the computer. So annoying.
Zoff is like trying to tell them to activate it, but they can't hear. They can't hear him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing that happened was a mind-mangling explosion of noise and light.
And that is where the chapter ends. But I would like to go back. There's a bit on page 85 where it's like they realize the missiles are coming towards them, and Zaphod's like, but don't you see what this means? And Arthur's, yes, we're going to die. Yes, but apart from that. It's like,
yeah,
it means we must be onto something. I love like the style of writing, but it's like, how soon can we get off it, like physically onto something? It's just like making, I don't know if that's a pun, but like making just bad jokes in the face of death.
Yeah.
Which
seems to be a recurring theme with aliens and humor, of like making jokes at poor times.
Yeah, well, I think that's Arthur making that one, but yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's just part of, it being a comedy as well as sci-fi.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess we'll see how they survive in the next chapter.
Well, they don't, and it's several chapters describing their deaths.
Yeah, maybe that's the end. The rest of the chapters are just blank. It was all a trick.
Chapter 18.
So he manages to activate the drive.
Yeah. Like, you seem to be hit with quite a heavy sentence at the end. And then and the next thing that happened after that was that the Heart of Gold continued on its way perfectly normally with a redesigned interior.
Yeah, it starts describing the interior. It's like, do we care about this right now? Weren't they about to die?
So they're like, what? Wait, hang on, what's happened? What?
Spiral staircase leading to nowhere.
Yeah, they're just really confused, like, where are we? And Eddie's talking about the improbability factor of whatever just happened as being 8,786,128 against 1, or to 1 against.
Right. And it seems like the most significant thing that happened is that the two missiles that were flying towards them have transformed. One into a bowl of petunias and the other into a sperm whale.
Zaphod's like, oh, did you think of this, Earthman?
Yeah.
And Arthur's just been like, all I did was, and it's like, oh, very quick thinking, well done.
Yeah, Zaphod's like, you've saved our lives, or whatever. And Arthur, like, trying to be humble is like, oh, it was nothing. And then Zaphod's like, oh, was it? Okay, then forget it. Never mind.
And it's like, but, nope, forget it.
Yeah, you said it was nothing, so let's not talk about it anymore. And I don't know if this is Zaphod being, like, alien and misunderstanding his humbleness. Or if it's
so.
Or if it's just
him being snarky.
Yeah, or just him being like a big like ego maniac. And, like,
yeah, like, oh, you flicked the switch, look at you.
Yeah, wanting to like downplay Arthur's achievements.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of both.
As we know about Zaphod, how he is, he's either they're playing into like the thing mentioned, he's either being an idiot on purpose, being an idiot, being an idiot on purpose, but
right,
actually just
like maybe he's pretending to misunderstand Arthur's humbleness so that he can downplay his achievement. Like, it's probably both. Yeah.
Or he's just Then it just goes into a few paragraphs describing the
The thoughts of the sperm
The
whale.
thoughts of the sperm whale for the few seconds it lived. Like
Really
it's
develops
asking all
the
these
character there.
questions, and it slowly works out what's happening. And it's like, but then it kind of just ends because it's like naming things as it goes through its amazing adventure through this alien planet, and it just ends with, oh, there's this big thing coming towards me, very very fast. It's so big and flat and round. It needs a big wide sounding name like ground, and the rest after and the rest after a sudden thud was silence.
Yeah.
Which is
It's like, I wonder if ground will be my friend. And just silence.
But it does turn out. No, I guess we'll have to find out what turned out.
It does mention the bowl of petunias thoughts as well, which is, oh no, not again.
So, and then many people have speculated that if we knew exactly why the bowl of petunias had thought that, we could know a lot more about the nature of the universe than we do now.
Yeah. So I think, as I've mentioned before, I'm reading this on ebook format.
Right, yeah.
Because that just felt like thematically appropriate for the Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah, fair enough.
But one of the interesting things about reading it on a Kindle is that it gives you the option to highlight passages that you can like look back at later. But if you have it turned on, you can see what other people have highlighted. If there's like more than, like, if a bunch of people highlight the same section, it'll tell you. And apparently the entire Petunia paragraph there has been highlighted a bunch of times by people.
I think people just really want to know the thoughts of a Petunia bowl.
Oh no, not again. I wonder if there's any like theories revolved around that.
Maybe it's a time traveling Petunia.
Yeah, maybe it's something to do with like reincarnation or something.
Yeah.
This bowl of Petunia has lived many lives.
I wonder if it's something like, oh, maybe like the whale died and then instantly it went into the Petunias.
The whale's consciousness.
Yeah, it was uploaded to the Petunia. It's like, oh, I've been here before. Oh dear.
Or maybe this just wind is about now.
And this head of mine. And
I don't have a tail this time.
No. Chapter 19. Oh right, the robot goes on to say like the kind of monologue to no one about how he's like, oh, I'm so smart. What's like the point if you are a manically depressed robot? And it's like, oh, my brain's 50,000 times more intelligent than you, and even I don't know the answer.
Yeah, Marvin just being Marvin.
Yeah.
But then the computer gives him a bit of trouble.
Oh yeah, he seemed to change personalities.
It's like he won't open the door unless like someone apologizes for whatever snarky comment they made. And
was it, I'm sorry, I think we might be better off with the slide rule. And then the computer's like, who said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, worthy of mention here of how much power their AI has over them. And that, like, if it chooses to, it can just not open the door for them.
Yeah. If it gets offended.
Again, I think, like, I'm not surprised at all that this serious cybernetics corporation runs into problems later with their making depressed robots and like doors that get moody and stuff. Like, yeah, just asking for the robot apocalypse.
Yeah, and then Zachwood's like, all right, computer, if you don't open that exit hatch at this moment, I shall zap straight off to your major data banks and reprogram you with a very large axe.
Yeah, Zachwood goes straight to like, I think it says he debates in his head like trying to fight with the computer on its level, and then he realizes like, no, I just need to threaten it with physical violence because it can't do that back.
It's the equivalent of running up to a human and screaming blood.
Yeah, no, that's Ford. If I read this right, Ford just starts counting.
Oh, because it's
I guess because the computer runs on math and numbers, like binary and stuff.
oh yeah, it's like it's a thing he learned on Earth because it's humans showing their dominance over computers by doing their own computing.
Yeah. So he just starts counting numbers.
Yeah,
like,
but
and
yeah, I think I misread that, but yeah, that is quite yeah.
yeah, that's a great way to intimidate a computer, apparently.
I mean, he's like, I can see this relationship is something we're gonna have to work on, and then he just opens it and lets him go in. And then a few minutes later, he opened and closed the hatchway again in response to a command that caught him entirely by surprise. Which you can't tell. Is that? I guess that's another spoilery thing.
Yeah, they all leave and then they get a command. The computer gets a command. And yeah, it doesn't really elaborate, but I'm sure we'll find out eventually.
Dun dun dun. Chapter 20.
Chapter 20.
So they land on this dullish brown, and then it's this dullish grey, dullish brown color planet, and
But it's Arthur's first alien planet. He's very excited about it.
Yeah, and he's like, it's like, it's fantastic. It's like, it's a desolate hole, if you ask me. It's like, no, don't you understand? It's the first alien planet I've ever been on. But yeah, then it's like, but it's a pity it's such a dump.
Yeah, I think Zephod gets kind of sad about it because he was very excited about finding Magrathea, and he was expecting it to be like made of gold or something, but yeah.
It's just the dump.
Yeah.
But it turns out they go to this crater, and it turns out the whale.
The crater is made by the
sperm whale.
The whale hitting the ground.
It's weird because in my head I am like, when it was talking about a crater, I was like imagining like this giant valley. It's like, how much could have this? But yeah, I know it's weird. So either the whale hit the ground really hard, or it was like a dent in the floor.
I mean, yeah, the whale probably hit terminal velocity. I don't know.
Yeah.
In any case, it's a very large animal. So
yeah. Well, they were in the upper atmosphere.
Decently big.
Well, yeah, because it said, is it this chapter where it says Arthur just walks around it for a bit because he gets bored? But he just so he must be quite big if you can make a small walk of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I mean, whales are notoriously big animals, so.
Yeah, definitely sperm whales. But
I would imagine one hitting the ground and exploding makes a decent sized crater.
Yeah, so they go into this hole, and Zaphod is like, "Hey, Earthman, Arthur, could you like keep guard with the robot?" And then it's quite funny. Arthur's like, "A guard? But I thought you said it was safe here." I was like, "Well, just for safety." And then he replies, "Whose, yours or mine? Good lad. Okay, here we go."
Yeah, basically ditches him.
Yeah. I guess Arthur would be quite useless in this situation, and no one likes Marvin. But Marvin just goes to sleep because he gets bored. So they go through...
At one point, it does mention that Trillian sees something out of the corner of her eye.
But then, and then she looks back and it's just... Trillian was reminded unavoidably of the London Underground. Which, oof. Just, it must be quite... It does do quite a good job at, like, reminding you that these two, like, Earthlings have lost everything they've ever known. So, even, like, the slightest reminder is quite sickening, I guess.
Yeah, well, also I think it's implying that the London Underground is not the cleanest.
Yeah.
Which I don't imagine any subway really is.
No. But, yeah. So, I guess it's... I guess it's both a jab at the London Underground and also, like... I guess it's a reminder of home.
Yeah, and
And
they have the role of like being relatable, because that's like
they're meant
that's
to
an
be.
analogy that like the readers can understand because they're
They're keeping us
from Earth as well.
They're keeping the story quite grounded, I guess, throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, like it
Like
might
Arthur's quite a
remind
straight
Ford
man.
of it might remind Ford of something from like the vicinity of Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean much to us.
Yeah, but like, yeah, like telling us about the London Underground and the intervals along the walls with tiles with large mosaics. It is, quite like the London Underground, which isn't the, let's just say, 1960s through 70s architects weren't the best. But yeah, but
I like that Marvin starts humming whenever he gets annoyed with humans being too human-y. I think at one point Zephyr just hits him, so he stops.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then at the end of this chapter, it's interesting. There's a very detailed explanation of like Zephyr's brains.
Oh yeah, and he seems to have good ideas, but only when they seem to suit an exterior motive.
Yeah, and he does all these tests, and he finally finds the thing he's looking for. And he sees
green
that,
filter.
Yeah, he sees that like a bunch of neurons have been cut off.
Yeah.
But it's marked with his own initials.
Yeah. And its initials are said B.
Seyfeld B. Wilbrox. I mean, he's assuming, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess they're assuming. It could be.
Not sure why someone
Zim
would
Zam
mark their
Blip
initials
Floppy
on someone
Boop.
like that, anyways. But
yeah. But yeah.
But yeah, so that's interesting. I wonder if we'll. I assume we'll hear about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe in the next chapter.
Chapter 21. So 21. I did some of those nicer chapters where it's one of those shorter ones, but it's filled with jokes. But what's interesting is sometimes the shorter chapters base their jokes off the longer chapter before, but this one seems to be to make its own stuff as it goes along.
Yeah. I know
So,
you said like, yeah, it's just like a short, funny chapter.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not really like related to any of the other stuff going on because it's Arthur sitting, waiting, and reading the Hitchhiker's Guide to keep himself entertained. At least that's how it starts.
He like hits random buttons and he reads a weird like insert about Vít Vujagid, and it's like as he reads it, he seems to think that this must have been some of these must have been ideas that sounded like a good idea at the time to the editors.
Yeah, I like that. I like the line that says, "The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a very unevenly edited book." It's like, yeah, some of the passages, like Earth, is just like harmless, mostly harmless, or whatever. But then it goes off on tangents about like Vogon poetry or whatever, like in depth.
But this one's quite funny because it's about this man who had a promising future. He goes out drinking with Zaphod and he becomes obsessed with the idea of what happens to all of the lost Biros. And then he comes to the conclusion there's a Biro planet with Biro-based organisms.
What is that word you're saying?
Biro.
What is a Biro?
Like a pen.
Are you trying to say ballpoint?
Yeah. Put a picture. It's like a Biro. Like a ballpoint pen. It's like
like a
like
name?
the clear plastic. No, it's I think it's actually it's. I'm trying to think. I think it's based in French. I'm not sure, but it's like like how you have like hundreds of those long transparent pens with the black or blue like plasticky bit in the end and the ballpoint.
No, like I know what a ballpoint pen is, like just like a cheap pen, but
yeah,
the term biro. Like, how do you even spell that?
Yeah, it's. But yeah, it's
Oh,
it's just
BIRO.
yeah, biro. Are you confused?
It looks more like seeing it written out makes more sense to my brain, but hearing someone say it, yeah. No, I think we do have those in America. It's just like never heard someone refer to it. I've always heard just pen or ballpoint pen or whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've always heard it as a pen, but like, yeah, I guess biro's already on like equipment lists, or that's the thing they say in school, like stores, shops. But yeah,
yeah, that might be a slight Britishism.
Britishism, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, Adams was British, I think. Yeah, he helped it. Anyway, which I guess explains quite like some of the more drier parts of this book. So yeah, so he was saying, so he came to the conclusion that like among humanoids, reptilioids, fishoids, walking treeoids, and a planet inhabited by a super intelligent shade of the color blue, there was also a planet with based in biros, which is. But then it also goes on to say talks about Zaphod Beeblebrox's highly profitable second-hand biro business.
Did yours actually say biro in the book?
Yeah, my one says biro.
Mine says ballpoint everywhere, so we must have slightly different edited versions.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, right.
Well, anyways, either way, same meaning. Yeah, there's like a pen planet.
I think it's a small language. I think biro is based in French, pen or something like that.
Pen in French is stylo, I think.
Stylo. So I just remember something was biro, or maybe it was. Anyhow. But yeah.
Yeah, I do think that's kind of funny that this guy's like, trust me, there's a planet of pens. I worked as a chauffeur for a nice pen family or whatever, and like no one believes him. But he also started down this rabbit hole when he was drinking with Zaphod, and then coincidentally Zaphod has this nice secondhand pen market business.
Yeah.
Like clearly he's gone to that planet and scooped up all the pen families and sold them.
Yikes.
Which gets into like some Toy Story levels of like, are the pens alive? Are they not alive? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like what's the deal here?
But that's, I guess, a fun part about these Hitchhiker's Guide entries, that they are what they are, and it's like you don't have to go too deep into them. It's fine. It doesn't have to fully make sense.
Arthur read this, and then he just kind of just puts it down like, oh dear. So then, yeah, Arthur has like a little wander around the crater, and then he sees a double sunset. Yeah,
Arthur and Marvin have very different levels of excitement about that dual sunset. Like,
yeah, so he wakes him up to tell Marvin, because he was like, you know what, manically depressed robot is better than no one. And then he tries to make conversation to him about Earth, and he's like, oh wow, I saw this double sunset, and it's like, oh, they're like, oh yeah, I hate those. Or
yeah, he's like, I've seen it, it's terrible.
Yeah, he's like, night's falling, look robot, the stars are coming out.
How dreadful.
He's like, I know, wretched, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've seen it, it's rubbish. And then he asks him, so that planet of yours, do you have oceans? And he's like, yeah,
lots
great
of oceans.
And he's like, oh god, I can't bear oceans.
And
he's like, and he asks him, do you get on with other robots? He's like, no, hate them. And he's like, where are you going? And then just Arthur walks away again.
Yeah, it's just like anything Arthur tries to talk about with him to like cheer him up or find something he's interested in, Marvin's just like, oh no, that's the worst. Hate it.
Yeah, I guess it is annoying when you have those types of people in real life. Yeah. You're like, oh man, look, this really cool thing. It's like, oh, thanks, I hate it. It's like, I tried really hard.
It can be hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like, I was excited about the dual sunset, you know? And it's like, no, it's the worst. You're wrong for being excited about it.
You're objectively wrong about your subjective experience.
Yeah. It's like, oh, thanks for ruining it for me, Marvin.
And then there's this quite nice little bit where Marvin counts to 596,000 million before falling asleep a second later.
That's quite the
Counting.
Quite the processing power there.
Yeah. So Arthur slaps his arms like we're really getting the idea that this planet is freezing.
Yeah.
And yeah,
At least the
he
surface.
just keeps walking around.
And at the very end of the chapter, he walks straight into an old man.
Yeah, that's where it ends.
I guess we shall see what becomes of this.
Dun dun dun.